Welcome everybody to another exciting episode of Geek Boots. Today we are tackling Age of Ultron, and these two lovely folks that I'm hanging out with today, Mayan Goddess and J4 Props, we're not here for a couple of episodes, so we get to do some backpedaling.
Yeah.
With here with Geek Boots, it's talking about the big green weenie that likes to fuck us, just like Ant-Man defeating Thanos.
A girl can dream. A girl can dream.
I loved that video. Like, I knew it was coming. Like, you see all these memes happen for Ant-Man and Thanos' butt, and I'm just like, aha. And then someone fucking animated Ant-Man shrinking down, going up into his butt, and then expanding. And then they took the shot from freaking Infinity War where he's got the axe in his chest, and all of a sudden, just explosion of purple and pink. And I'm like, oh my god, you did that.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Oh, I was so proud. There are so many theories, and I can't wait to see them all. But I'm really looking forward to that one. However, Captain Marvel, though, like after seeing it, finally, I'm excited to see what she brings to the table.
You know, it stands to reason. For everybody listening, it was brought out like day or two right after they dropped that last trailer, and they're all like, oh yeah, by the way, we're purposely misleading you. Everything you see in the trailer may not actually be in the movie. And I'm sitting here going, aw man, and then I'm thinking about that one clip on the last trailer of Infinity War where the whole entire crew was sitting there charging into battle, and I'm like, I mean, I'm not surprised, I guess. So we'll see what happens. 3.5 hours long, so...
I thought it was 3 hours and 2 minutes.
It's a little over 3 hours. They keep dropping the ball and saying it's going to be a little longer than 3 hours.
Yeah.
I remember one initial post flat out saying it's going to be close to 4 hours long.
You know what? I would be willing to wear diapers for that. Like, no shame. Or just like load up on MRAs for like the whole like day and a half prior, so like nothing's coming out.
So in my civilian job, there's a lot of acronyms that you have to start creating because it has to be fast when you're writing stuff down. And the acronym I gave for this store when I was writing it down ended up being the ACM. So there's this running gag at my work where instead of the AMC, it's the retarded cousin called the ACM. And then we just started listing off the worst things possible for a movie theater experience. And one of them ended up being that all of the seats are actually toilets. And before my listeners start thinking, oh, that's not a bad idea, imagine you're sitting there and you're watching the most pivotal scene in the movie, and then all of a sudden a row of flushes just start happening.
Like that.
Like that. Here at the ACM, the movies are different, but the experience is always the same.
Maybe all the knockoff versions too.
Right.
It's like instead of the Avengers, it's the Amenders.
You get your ticket. It is mailed to you, not emailed, mailed to you. And keep in mind that it's not always the movie you're going for anyway. And they strap you into your seat. You're not allowed to go anywhere. It's force-fed. Anyway, it's this entire different thing. It's crazy. We'll talk about the ACM on another episode. It's pretty elaborate, and it's going to keep going. Anyway, Age of Ultron.
Yes.
I was super stoked about this movie because Avengers did so well, and I really liked seeing them as a team. It hadn't been done on such a blockbuster Hollywood magic kind of imagery feel in like ever. So I was super excited for Age of Ultron. But I think since J4 here has not been here for a couple of episodes, why don't you start us off, buddy? Remember that it is the impact, the favorite scene, favorite character and why, and where and what you were doing at the time during the movie, and how excited you are and what rating you give it.
Huh. Okay, so impact. I liked it a lot more than a lot of people seem to have liked it. A lot of people just thought it was like the filler movie, and I mean it did have some problems. But I mean, what Marvel movie doesn't? And I don't know. I thought it was a great movie, and it was a great filler, I guess you could say. Like it filled gaps. It continued the story. We got to see them work as a team. We got to see them almost destroyed as a team. And you could definitely see that there was seeds being sown for Civil War. That with Tony going behind everybody's back, there was starting to that little distrust was starting to be planted. But no, it's actually one of my favorite MCU movies. I actually like it more than the first Avengers movie.
I agree, honestly.
My favorite scene and my favorite character, they kind of tie in together. My favorite scene is the pep talk that Barton gives Wanda.
Oh yes.
Because it's one of the realest lines ever, because he's like, the city is flying. The city is flying. Like he's
opening his eyes.
I cannot stress this enough. The city is flying. We're fighting an army of robots, and I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense. But and he's like, just either sit here or buck up and let's go. And and it was definitely a flip, from he wanted to murder both the twins when he first met them, but then he's like, okay, they're just misguided youth, and all of a sudden taking that dad role. And I also love this movie basically because Barton is my favorite of the Avengers. I go back and forth between him and Thor, but anyway, and you finally actually get to see his background and his motivations, and they kind of expand on him, because I mean, other than that, you had a haphazard attempt at making him an interesting character in the first Avengers movie. He was, half the movie he was a brainwashed villain, and then before that, the only other scene was the uncredited cameo that he got in the first Thor movie.
Yeah, I was surprised that he was uncredited. I didn't know that until you brought that up.
Yeah, I didn't know that until somebody else brought that up to me, and then I was like, shenanigans. I gotta Google this. Sure enough, uncredited. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. As for where I was when I saw it, oh geez. Well, I moved back to Washington. I know that. Yeah. Don't really remember what theater it was at. I know I went and watched it with my wife. That's about all I remember. I mean, it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, 4 years ago. Yeah, 2015.
So, it's been a minute. We've seen one or two Marvel movies since then.
Like 1 or 2 or 7 or something.
I also really appreciated that line when Pietro comes in. Keep up, old man. Nobody would know.
Oh yeah. Nobody would
The
know.
last I saw him, Ultron was sitting on him. Yeah, he'll be missed, weak little bastard. I miss him already.
That's what I love about his character is just he's witty dad jokes for days, just 100% snark all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad he made it through. Oh, spoilers, I guess.
Oh.
Again, to quote Jake, if you think these are spoilers, catch up.
Yeah.
Right?
Seriously.
Right.
Seriously. I'm just.
It's like,
anyway.
welcome to where we're going to be talking about the Avengers. Hope you watched it. And if you haven't, why are you here?
Yeah. Right?
Why are you here?
We are pretty much advertising this very hardcore that we're doing the Road to Endgame. If you have no idea what we're talking about, I guess you should come out of your cave now. Watch a movie or two. I guess. I don't know.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Get with the zeitgeist already, Jesus.
We don't talk about that guy.
Who?
He is Mr. Woodchipper.
Who? We're not
Have you
talking
seen-
about him, remember?
Exactly.
No, Deadpool with the time machine made it happen. Anyway,
That's true.
my goddess, you are up next.
All right. So, Avengers Age of Ultron, I appreciated very much compared to the original Avengers movie because you were allowed to get darker. We got out of the origin story of like, oh, they don't know how to get along, and it was like, all right, we're going right into it, which is great. So I appreciated that. At the same time, I do kind of agree with what J4 Prof said, in that it kind of was like, okay, this isn't really an ending to a movie so much as it is like a preview for the next phase of movies that's coming in. But it was really well written. I really appreciated the depth of the characters, the brother and sister duo in particular. My favorite scene would have to be Vision when he does his little pep talk and then he lifts the hammer.
Yeah.
Gives it back to Thor and is like, all right, let's go.
And
That-
everyone's
I was like-
staring at him like, wait a minute. And Thor's just like, huh, this is awkward.
I remember, like when that happened, I was in the theater. And like all of a sudden, like there was this like one lady in the background going, "Oh shit!" and everybody was like, "Yes, yes," because yeah, that's exactly how it felt for everybody. So that for me, hands down, Vision like did his pep talk, lifted the hammer, and it was like, "Yes, let's do this." And it was that like burst of just motivation that I loved.
Of course, they went right back onto it too, because they're all like, and I'm running out of things to say. Are you ready? Bam!
Yeah.
It's incredibly off ballast. Well, you lose momentum when it's just like, yes, they're gonna keep doing this. Perfect.
Yeah, I appreciated that. Where was I? It was 2015, and I got to see it with. I'm about to sneeze. If it does happen, don't mind me. It sounds like a girl. Anyway, so I went to see it with a group of my Marine buddies. I was stationed in Camp Pendleton at the time with the 1st Marine Division Band. And actually one of the guys that I saw it with ended up being my roommate. So like really great friends. And it was one of those moments where it was like Marvel had been established. It was okay to be a nerd. We were allowed to come out of our geek shells by this point. So it was like you got to see these fully grown macho men and women going, yeah, Marvel, yeah, let's do this. So that was really exciting, especially if you compare it to like when the first Iron Man came out and everyone's like, yeah, we'll go see an action movie, but that doesn't make me weird kind of thing. So that, like, by comparison, that was really exciting for me, at least.
Oh, I was already letting the nerd flag fly. I didn't care.
Right.
But at least it was, like, by then it was popular to be geek. Like, it was
Fair.
cool now.
Yeah, that's fair. So for me, I gotta say, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it, and I, like Jake, enjoyed it a lot better than the first one. For me, the first one was, it was entertaining. Don't get me wrong.
It was entertaining.
It was the hype. The hype moment for me, honestly, was right when he goes, "That's my secret cap. I'm always angry." He turns into the Hulk. They stand together. Here they all are as Avengers, and then they all just doing their things. And of course, there's the one moment where he's fighting off against Loki by himself with Cap. But that whole end battle scene was all for me is all I cared about. With Age of Ultron, for me, it was a lot of character growth. Especially
Yeah.
together. That's what it was. I mean, yeah, sure. If people want to argue that it's filler, that's fine. Because in all honesty, if this movie hadn't existed, then the gripe would then become, I don't understand how these characters are just all of a sudden like this and like that with one another. You needed this movie to help the growth of how these characters bond and build up with one another and grow. And it showed with the humor and with the drama. Case in point, yeah, they get the scepter, and he wants to create this thing. He wants to create Ultron. Ultron comes in. It's all a big mess up because that's what Tony does. He tries to, as Wanda said, you know, he wants to fix things so much and so hard that he ends up breaking everything and ruining everything. That is the thing, even in the comic books, with the original Civil War comics. He wants to fix things so much that he ends up wrecking things. So Thor comes in and, picks him up by his throat, but not enough to strangle him, just lifting him up, basically. And they're all just kind of sitting there like, that's when especially like when it comes down to us as battle buddies, when one of them is about to take out the other one and we're all sitting back going, nah, bro, you done fucked up. Like, we're gonna make sure you don't kill each other, but you deserve the beating you're about to fucking get. Like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
bro. Like, sucks to suck. But, they're all sitting there, and another thing that ties in with last week's episode that we were talking about in terms of loyalty was part of their growth was one of their members fucked up. He fucked up in the sense that he created this murder bot, as Banner said. No, when I created a murder bot, but they're gonna stick together. Like, yeah, they understand Stark messed up, but they're gonna still rise to the challenge together to fix the issue. It's not like how some groups of people, communities, what have you, sit there and do the things that they do. This was truly the way it is as a group of people. Like, yeah, you screwed up, and we're gonna ridicule you for it, but we have to work together to fix this now. And I really liked that. I really appreciated that about this movie as a whole. And of course, the humor, because I feel like some of the jokes that were being played off in this movie, if they hadn't grown together, wouldn't have worked. Like, one of my favorite moments was when he's walking by and he goes, Ultron hates me the most, or something. He wants me, and Vision comes by and he goes, "It's true. He hates you the most." And
Yep.
thanks. like it's just they're growing, And then one of my favorite lines in terms of just for the impact is the inspiration is when Tony is the one who says it, and he goes, how do you plan on defeating me? Well, like the old man said, and they both look at each other and go, together. I was like, yes, that's so freaking dope.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in terms of an impact for me, it was big because of the growth that we get to see with these characters together as this collective unit, their platoon, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Their squad.
Their squad, yeah. So for me though, I gotta go with Captain America. He had a lot of little moments throughout the thing. I think I really kind of felt this degree of honor to it when they're having this party, and Cap is sitting there having the party, and he's just a bunch of World War II and Vietnam veterans all throughout the entire building.
Yes.
And I'm sitting here going, oh my god. And of course, I learned way back in the day, one of kind of the founder, if you really want to argue it, for what we are here on this podcast and what we're doing, Stan Lee. So if none of our listeners didn't know this, Stan Lee was a World War II veteran. Um, I don't know the logistics of what his job was, but I believe it was something about reporting, doing a lot of reporting, which he tied into writing, and that's why he went into comic books. When um, he got out in a short period of time, started writing more comics, kind of inspire troops, support the troops, and it just kind of took off from there. So honestly, Stan Lee is kind of the founder of being a military and being a geek. So much props to him, of course.
Yeah.
But I looked to my dad while we were in the theater, and he was wearing his hat, and I go, "How much you want to bet that's his actual hat?" Because I wouldn't be surprised if he rocked his actual World War II hat because he's like, "I have this." Like, I guaranteed all of them were. Like, they offered this thing to all these World War II veterans. Come on, I don't think any of them were really actually actors. To reference another movie, Battleship. Not a lot of people enjoyed it. I had to respect the fact that they actually got a lot of veterans from the Pearl Harbor incident to come onto their movie and be a part of their movie. That's fucking amazing. So that was pretty cool on that scene. Captain America involved in that whole entire piece really kind of struck a chord with me because I love my country and I love my troops so much. That was awesome. And then a lot of his comedic parts were just great. Like, I mean, the only thing I didn't like was the where he threw the robot over the edge. What? You didn't finish. Like, I was just like, all right. When one of them was like incoming, after it was already too late, he hits the windshield and he goes, "Yeah, incoming already came, guys." Like, I was just like, "Oh shit, yeah." And then my favorite line of all time is, "You get hurt, hurt him back. You get killed, walk it off." I'm just like, yes, that's so good. It was just, yeah, I fucking loved it. That was so awesome of him and his character, and and then kind of there was a bit of a dynamic that was starting to really grow between Tony Stark and Captain America, whether it be about the hammer that none of them can lift, which, by the way, I fucking love the fact that because this serum amplified all of that's good in him, so technically speaking, he's worthy. He almost lifted the hammer, but it is my understanding through the comic books, and
he wielded it in the comic books.
Comic books. Now, the reason why I think they did what they did for this movie and why he almost didn't actually lift it, my understanding is classic comic book lore for Mjolnir is that whoever's so worthy can lift the hammer. But if someone is worthy and they're operating that hammer, then that is the person who is sole representative of the hammer. Nobody else can really lift it. You'd have to have immense amount of strength, which, you know, we've seen some characters in the comic books attempt to do, but not to a full extent. So I don't know. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure. All I know is it gave me a little bit of a military chub when he nudged it up a little bit, and Thor was like, "Oh shit!" Like,
yeah, I did appreciate the little nod to the comic books when it did budge a little bit, and I liked Thor's reaction. He was just like, "Wait, what?" kind of thing.
Right, and then at the end where he's like, you know, put the hammer in an elevator. Elevator still goes up, and Thor's like, "I'll miss these talks."
I will say this: you did bring up a really good point about how like the characters grew, and in the same regard, we kind of grew with the characters too.
Yeah.
Like we got to see their dynamics, and so by the time we got to that movie, it was almost like we not could relate to them, but it was almost like they were our friends too.
Yeah.
Like the way that they got along together, it was like, yeah, we're part of this kind of thing. At least that's how I felt.
Yeah. As far as where and what I was doing at the time, I know I was a member of the National Guard, and nothing super exciting, honestly. Yeah, I was just lucky because I didn't have to do the National Guard and the Reserves. They call it AT, which is the acronym for annual training, and they do 2 weeks out of the summer out in the field. And of course, I laugh when all of them complain. I'm like, you should try active duty.
It's like summer camp.
Yeah, summer camp.
It's really like summer camp.
The only thing that sucks about being in the guard or the reserves is that when they call, you've got to go. So you're sitting here doing your life, and then suddenly that call comes, and you're like, shit. But in active duty, for me, it was like in active duty, this is my life, 24/7. I like it's not going to be a huge blow to the fucking heart where I have to sit there and go, well, I can't watch the movie now because this is my life. Like, now, there have been moments where a movie will come out and go, I really wanted to see this movie. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, you got to do this on this date. And I'm like, well, fuck you. Like,
that actually happened with me and Watchmen. Because Watchmen came out when I was in boot camp. And I got a letter from my now brother-in-law, but he was at the time one of my sister's boyfriends. And he was just like, yeah, like this happened, the writing was yada yada. I gave it like a B-. And I was like, why are you telling me this? I wanted to see it. I was so mad.
Yeah, it's funny because our podcast here, J4, is part of a group called the Seattle Avengers. And there have been numerous times where their group has reached out to me to see if I wanted to join them, whether it be Deadpool or just to have that ability to go. And I go, let me check my schedule. And then I'd see that I do drill that exact weekend. I go, I can't go. Yay. Like, so it's now I'm out. And I'm like, freedom, yes, I can go to do things now. Yeah. Anyway. So, but yeah, that was Age of Ultron. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't understand why anybody would have a gripe over it. It's a definitive movie that needs to be so that there's character growth. But on top of that, I don't see why anybody would say it's a filler movie because it's a pivotal part of the storyline too. You know, there's a lot of villains and a lot of big pivotal moments the Avengers have to.
I'm sorry, I have to pause you for a second because
like
Jake is like jacking off in the corner, and I don't know what that is. Like I don't know what it is.
I'm sitting here giving this speech, and all of a sudden, squeak, squeak.
Oh, it's my chair.
Yeah, we know it's your chair.
We know.
Shit.
It's what are you doing on that chair? That's the question.
So he does it on purpose to make it perfect. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sure. Sure. You're gonna break someone's hymen doing that, right? At that speed, okay? Anyway. That's a podcast. Anyway.
Hi, everyone.
Right. Anyway,
And to answer your question, I'm drawing on foam.
What?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because my face was like I had tilted for my brows and my eyes narrow, and I'm like, wait, what?
It's okay. I think we both did the same thing. We're just like, what?
Yeah, right.
I don't think you helped your case there.
No.
I'm patterning.
Gotcha.
Does that help?
Sure. Honestly, no. You're making a lot of squeaky noises for just patterning.
Yeah. What were you patterning with?
I don't
know how to say that word. Sorry.
Testing required with your penmanship there, good sir. Phrasing. This is what you need. No, just kidding.
There, the chair is gone. The chair is gone. I am on the floor.
I'm so proud of you.
I feel so honored.
The lighting's pretty shitty now.
I forgot what you were saying, dude, and I feel bad because you were in the middle of something very serious, and I just
Let's speak up. So, in closing for Age of Ultron, you know, I didn't really feel like I don't understand why anybody would say it's a filler movie. It was definitely needed because even the Avengers in the comic books, before we reached the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity War, Ultron, all these other characters existed. We had to face them, character growth. So I don't understand the gripe. And if you got gripe, don't watch the movie. I don't know. Just go fuck yourself.
It is really good, and I will say this: in order to kind of understand the movie where it's at now, you have to watch it. You have to watch it Because if you just watch like certain things and if you don't watch that, nothing will make sense. Because it's like there's so many things that stemmed from that series of events.
You need to watch Age of Ultron, because otherwise you will not understand the character that is Tony Stark to understand the movie Civil War. So it helps. It definitely helps.
Yeah.
Now, listeners, we are going to do some backpedaling to fill in the gap, because otherwise this would be a 30-minute podcast.
Oh, I've got some stuff.
Yes.
Can I talk about it?
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it. Okay. I got shot. I got shot in the foot with a needle. So for context, I had this condition with my foot where like there's actually like I get cysts, and so there's actually a chunk of bone in my foot that should be there, isn't. And so I've been having problems walking all the time, and usually I walk with a brace. So if you see some of my cosplay, I have a brace on. And so through Veterans Affairs, they deemed me a good candidate for stem cell treatment.
Woohoo!
So
What?
yeah,
Weird.
which was not a thing while I was active duty. Like that was not an option in the slightest.
I did not know that stem cell stuff was a thing.
Yeah.
You didn't know stem cell research is a thing?
I knew stem cell research wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I was unaware that there was actual viable treatments using stem cells.
Stem cell.
Well, it's possible that they're
treatments
researching, and I'm a guinea pig, and I would not put it above them. But yeah, it's possible now.
It's one of those things where it's
No.
like it determines on like the body part, the limb, or whatever it is they're doing. But they've been doing certain things with stem cells to cure certain diseases too. So we've had stem cells being in effect, I think, the last, I want to argue 5 years, but I could be stretching it. It started really coming into fruition when Obama was our president, like because he was pushing for it so hard.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about it. The only part that was weird about it though was, so last Wednesday, like the day of last week's podcast, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're a good candidate." I was like, "Cool." And this lady comes up to me like to sign something, and I was like, "Hey, so when do I sign up for the appointment?" And the lady next to me goes, "Oh no, we're prepping it. You're signing for it right now." And the reason why was because apparently at the VA that I go to, they're thinking about trying to shut down the program in the next quarter or so. So they wanted to get the treatment to me as soon as possible, aka in like 30 seconds. So next thing you know, I had a needle that was about, I would say like 5 inches long, get shoved into my foot so that maybe about an inch was showing still.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh yeah, it went right into the middle of my foot. It was great. And then they just injected it, and they were like, "All right, here's a Band-Aid. Have a good day." Like they had given me a vaccine or something. It was just like, what just happened?
Wow.
But yeah, so I've got my fingers crossed, and hopefully, if everything goes well, I'll get to keep doing the treatments, and I'll actually be able to walk on my own 2 feet again without a brace. Fingers crossed.
Woo! Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, that's really exciting for me because this time, like about 2.5 years ago, yeah, either 2 or 2.5 years ago, they were actually putting amputation on the table, and I was not okay with that.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
So to go from that to now, I'm like, yay! I'll take a Band-Aid over no foot.
Gangrene, don't you cut off my right leg. Gangrenes, don't you take off my right leg. Gangrenes. Anyway.
Gangrenes, don't you take up a right leg. Gangrenes. That is going to be a song. Yes. I'm going to make that a song.
Our new theme song. I'm just kidding. You gotta do Avengers, the Avengers movie, and then the Avengers Descend episode, which is the Phase 2 stuff just before Age of Ultron. Catch up.
Oh god.
No pressure.
All right.
Family.
Yeah. We don't need to go into that. That was a rough week. Let's see. Avengers. Avengers was definitely more of a. I felt like
the whole movie was a proof of concept that like this whole idea of bringing a group of remarkable people together would actually work in a cinematic universe. And it was the payoff of the first 4 years of those movies, the phase one. And it was a fun movie. My favorite character from that movie, was
No pressure.
I love that character too.
Let me finish. Was probably Banner. I liked the Incredible Hulk. I thought it was a fun movie. It was an okay movie. I am not a huge fan of Edward Norton. I find his acting. It seemed like he was phoning it in through the whole movie. Like he just, I'm doing a superhero movie.
Yeah, there was definitely some interesting stuff with that movie and him in particular.
Yeah, so when I found out it was getting recast, I was hopeful, and then I when I found out it was the rom-com guy, I was nervous. But yeah, he's like nothing but rom-coms.
He was a rom-com guy. Yeah.
He got really angry and upset with doing too many rom-coms.
Yeah, clearly. But no, I thought he embodied Banner really well. Especially that kind of leads into my favorite scene of the movie is when they all start bickering in the lab, and all of a sudden he starts like getting really pissed off, and all of a sudden they all like start getting really nervous, and Fury goes, "Put down the scepter." Or was it Cap that told him to put it down?
No. It was 100%. No.
Who was it?
It was one of those two.
Cap said put down the scepter, but a combination of Nick Fury and Black Widow had done something about how they were like, Banner, or it was something along those lines. And then he's like, what? And Captain goes, you might want to put down the scepter. And he's like, what? And he looks down and he's like, weird.
And like it was that moment of realization, like that everybody all of a sudden flipped the switch and remembered that not only is this guy just the smart geek, but he's also the most dangerous person to have on this freaking helicarrier.
Floating ship. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a terrible idea. Let's not antagonize this guy because it could go sideways for everyone involved. But where was I? I was still stationed in Alaska when that movie came out. And yeah, oh god, I would go back in a heartbeat. I love being up there. But yeah, my wife and I went and saw it together. Like we've seen just about every MCU movie together, and yeah, we just really enjoyed that. It was as far as like story goes, plot. Oh god, the plot holes. Like I hated the wrap up of the movie. Basically, the whole they Independence Day the shit out of that. They take out all the mothership, and then all of a sudden the creeps just all die. I didn't like that. I thought it was. You can go ahead and say it. Your Deadpool line.
Deadpool, you're what?
That's just lazy writing.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
God, I set that one for you and everything.
We were just like,
what can I say? I'm just lazy.
Yeah, clearly.
I try.
But yeah.
It's okay. He's taking pointers from Teenage Mutant Warhead. Teenage Mutant Warhead. Oh my god.
Teenage Mutant Warhead, huh?
Teenage Mutant Warhead. That's us.
No, which color bandana is wrapped around her eyes? I'm just kidding.
Go with it.
Anyway.
And like my other biggest problem with that is the way Black Widow was portrayed. There was really no depth of her character. Her lines were terrible. Not that she acted them poorly. It's just like her literal, like the lines she had to say were just really dumb.
So, chiming in on that one, I love Black Widow, and I really appreciate the living hell out of the fact that Scarlett Johansson is a huge comic book reader of Black Widow, and has gone to great lengths to play this part because she loves this part so much. But what I hate the most is the fact that the way they have now portrayed the character of Black Widow. Like, I feel like we're not getting the full scope. We're getting their version of Black Widow, and I hate it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it sounds stupid, but I really wish she had a Russian accent like she does, whether in the animated stuff or how she's portrayed in the comic books and whatnot. I'm just like, where's her Russian accent? This is bullshit. I expect.
Well, here's the thing. Like, it can fit in the character with her not having a Russian accent, and I would rather her not have a Russian accent than her fake a really bad one.
Yes. Yes.
Like, nothing will pull me out of a movie more than a really bad attempt at an accent.
Yes.
And
Hashtag, no offense, but Mary Poppins. One of the worst Cockney accents ever from Dick Clark. Love him to death.
Yes.
That accent was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved that movie, and I loved oh my god, I can't remember his name. But Dick Clark's character, Dick Clark? Yeah. No? Yeah.
Yeah.
You just corrected yourself and you didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
Dick Tracy.
I'm having a dirt moment. But yeah, like that Cockney accent just
Oh yeah. It's cringeworthy. So yeah, I feel like I get what you're saying. It would be really awesome if she did have a Russian accent. But once again, like I would rather her not than have a really bad one.
True.
But like yeah. So that's pretty much all my input on that movie.
All right. Well, now he's caught up with the Avengers movie, and now, Jake, now you get to give us Phase 2. So, Iron Man 3, Thor 2, Captain America: Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Ant-Man.
Give him a break. Let him reset.
This is what you get for not being here for very long.
Oh man, no pressure.
Would you like a break, Jake? We can finagle. This is all being edited at this point, so it's fine.
I can full.
Are you sure about that?
I can full court press.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let me pull up Phase 2. So Phase 2 was
Iron Man 3, Thor 2, Captain America 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Ant-Man.
And what are my questions for this one?
It's the impact and thing, but this time it's favorite movie of Phase 2. Here's what you're going to say, considering it's a conglomerate of the movies.
I loved the fact that Phase 2 expanded everything so much. Started introducing characters outside of the Avengers with Guardians of the Galaxy. Because until that movie, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was never really a big Marvel Comics guy until the MCU actually kicked off. I'd watch some of the old cartoons back in the day, but never really got into the actual comic books. So when Guardians of the Galaxy was announced, my response was, who? The what? But actually, like, they're some of my favorite characters. I mean, I don't like how they've done certain ones now that I've actually seen them and done some research and stuff like that, like I think poor Drax is not done justice. Like I love Dave Bautista as Drax. I just feel like Marvel Studios has nerfed the shit out of him.
Oh yeah, we're talking about, okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't read the comics yet, Drax is one of the very few characters who can take on Thanos by themselves. He full on put his arm through Thanos' chest, grabbed his heart, and went through the back and killed Thanos. Like, it doesn't get more badass than that. So I'm glad someone's saying this, because Drax is fucking badass, and yet, you know,
they nerfed him.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. But because I always just felt like, why is he even here in this movie? Because other than comedic relief, he really didn't contribute. But no, I like him, and I like the family aspect of the Guardians movies. I love that. I did not go see Ant-Man in theaters. That was the first MCU movie that I was not I did not see in theaters. First of 3. I kind of regret that. I did not expect to enjoy that movie. I thought it was a fun movie. And I liked that the Ant-Man franchise kind of, it adds more of a comedy palate cleanser versus more of the gritty stuff in some of the other movies. And then you got your family space aspect going from the Guardians. I really liked Phase 2. So far, I think Phase 2 has been my favorite portion of the Marvel movies, because it just introduced new stuff, and it kind of, you get more variety out of Phase 2 than you did with the other ones. My favorite movie in Phase 2.
I think right now we have, so far, I think it was a tie between Guardians and Captain. Oh no, I think Captain won for Phase 2 out of what it was before. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think once again I'm gonna go contrarian to everybody else and say Thor 2.
Thor 2 was your favorite? Oh my god, dude!
Wait, what?
Hold on. You do not want to. You don't want to listen to Avengers Descent, because we kind of rapped on that movie a lot.
Wait, no. I want to hear this. Go. I want to hear why.
Why? Because it really, I mean, in terms of cinematic quality, I mean, is it a great movie? Okay. I kind of judge the quality of a movie, especially a superhero movie, based on its villain. The villain is forgettable. As one of our mutual friends has pointed out to me, most people don't even remember the main villain's name, Malekith, because he's just a forgettable character. There's really no depth to him. He's just, insert evil bad guy here. But it continues. I like how it continues the journey that Thor is on. My wife said it best yesterday, or not yesterday, day before, recently. We talk about this nerd stuff all the time together. She likes to look at the Thor trilogy not individually, but as an overall arc.
Oh. Okay.
And if you actually look at it from that point of view, if you look at it more of an individual movie or less of an individual movie and more of Twin Tower, or the Two Towers, Lord of the Rings style. Mm-hmm. It continues that story. You continually see the character development. You see that his motivations have changed from the first one, because remember, the first one, he was an asshole and arrogant. All he cared about was sitting on the throne. In this one, you get to see more of that. Okay, I need to put my people first. I am not ready for the throne right now. My job is to make sure that the 9 realms are back in order before I can take over the throne. You know, you also see him willing to sacrifice more, it introduces the reality stone in a way that was interesting. We get introduced to the collector.
Yep.
Granted, it's just in a post-credit scene, but still, he's there. Which I'll go into that in later.
Okay.
I have problems with him, the way that they've done him.
Ooh.
Which we'll talk about when we get to Infinity War. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
I just really enjoyed the movie. The humor was great. Except for I could have done without Eric Selvig running around naked. That I get what they were trying to do, but it was just, could we have not done that? That'd have been great. You get to feel more of Thor's loss, and that's been one of the overarching themes for Thor in his character progression, has been loss and how to cope with loss.
Okay.
Yeah.
It definitely culminates in Infinity War, and then we'll see how Endgame goes. I really liked Thor 2. Unpopular opinion, and 0 fucks given.
Well, everybody has their favorite. I mean, I think if we disregarded the things that we love and just go with like what everybody else believes, then it's not really fair to the movies themselves.
Yeah.
Because like to each their own, you know? It's kind of like with gaming, like I may like shooter games and some people like role-playing games, like to each their own. It doesn't, everybody gets their own choice and everybody gets to express themselves however they want.
And unlike typical people, we're not going to treat you like shit just because you don't like a movie or you like a movie. Weird concept, right?
Yep. We just hate everybody equally.
Yeah.
There's that.
Everyone and everything.
Well, that, and I've gotten to the stage in life where I don't care.
I'm getting to that point in my life.
That is what we call what was it? A senior enlisted right there. That's what that is.
I just don't care, man. Your opinion doesn't matter to me.
It was
Awesome.
it was like what Jake and I actually both jokingly said at Emerald City Comic Con on Sunday, because we ended up having a good number of people around us that were military. Someone had flown in from New York who's Navy, and we're all talking about it. I go, I'm maybe this age, but the military adds on like an extra 10 years. And all of us were just like, yeah, no,
Yep.
110%. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that reminds me. Okay, super left turn. You ready for this? So at WonderCon, I think it's on Saturday at noon. I have to check again. It's either 12 or 12:30 p.m. But there's actually going to be a veteran cosplayer shoot, like a group shoot.
Oh,
So so I'm really excited about that. And then I'll definitely mention us to them, because I would love if possible to kind of like bring some of them on and have them share their experiences, because I know like my cosplay dad, as I call him, he's a retired colonel in the Air Force, or lieutenant colonel from the Air Force. So that to me, I'm just like, oh my God, there's some big names in here.
Right. And here's me, the lowly specialist, apparently in charge of everything. And I'm just like, what?
Hey, this whole thing was your idea.
I would have never come up with this. This was awesome.
Yeah, no.
And I have a blast. I would have never met you guys if it wasn't for the podcast.
So we will be able to tour one day. One day. Anyway. All right, so that is Jake finally catching up with the last 2 episodes. Now, to let both of these two amazing military nerds catch up on the fact that we get to talk about Captain Marvel.
Yes! Sorry. Hi.
So,
Sorry.
So, real fast, it's going to be a scale of 1 to 10, and then a quick spoiler-free review, and then go in with the spoiler review. Mayan Goddess, since you just screamed into our ears, and we should give Jake a break,
Oh my
go
god.
ahead and go.
Sorry, if you're bleeding from your ears, Jake. Well, duh.
Whatever
Okay,
doesn't
so-
kill you makes you stronger.
So for me, I ended up not getting to watch it opening weekend because it was like that week of midterm, so I ended up focusing on that. But after midterms were done, I got to spoil myself and I got to see it with a couple friends. And one of them, it was actually his third time watching it. Or sorry, it was his third time watching it, and thank you for that check. I loved it. There's just no other way to describe it. It's nice getting to see, and this sounds super cliche because everyone's been saying it, but it is so nice to see a female lead, and not just for being female. It was almost like, oh yeah, like she's just, instead of it being like, oh my god, she's a girl and she's a badass and stuff like that. But at the same time, instead it was more of like, oh, she's a badass. Oh yeah, she's a woman. So I appreciated the fact that they focused on how cool she was as a person, as an alien, kind of, and as just a good soul and a good superhero. So it wasn't so much like this like super skimpy outfits like that you would see sometimes. It was just badass. As far as spoiler free, I don't really know how to do that. So I'm just gonna go spoiler alert. The cat. That cat. I fucking love that cat. And I never thought I would say this, but I would totally be a cat person after watching that movie if that meant if all cats could do that.
Fuck cats.
I know. I'm a dog person. I'm a total dog person, and I appreciate cats. I respect them from the other side of the house. But yeah, like that cat was fucking amazing. Samuel L. Jackson did a great job. Like just getting to see the dynamic between those two were really great. Getting to finally see why he wears the eye patch was really cool. And then the thing that I appreciated the most about Captain Marvel was the bad guys, so to speak. Like they had a motive and you could relate to it.
Are we getting into spoiler territory here?
She's not touching it completely because she's just talking
Okay.
about it as a general sense.
Okay,
She hasn't
making sure.
said-
Just making sure.
Yeah.
If she were to spoil it, she would say, "This is why I like the bad guys because they were doing this exactly." So
Yeah. I did appreciate the way they developed those characters, because one of the things that Marvel tends to do is you have these villains that, especially in Phase 2, and J4 Props mentioned it earlier, like they started to get forgettable.
yeah,
Like you didn't really like connect with the bad guy at all. You were just like, oh well, our hero's gonna save the day. So I think with Captain Marvel, the way they developed their characters this time, like now that they have the formula down, so to speak, they were able to kind of explore new territory as far as their villains were concerned. And I had much respect for that. As far as a rating goes, I would probably give it like a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10.
shit.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed that movie, and I really liked how they winded it together, for sure.
That is now out of the 5 of the group. That is 3 people who give it a 7 or 7.5 out of 10.
Are you serious?
Pretty sure Single Dad said something very similar, and of course, Cosplay Genemy gave it 10 out of 10. But to key on in that, I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due because Ben Mendelsohn is the guy who plays the lead Skrull, and
Oh god, I love him.
He's
he's
amazing.
He's amazing in literally everything he does.
Yes.
And like, so to have him in this movie, in a Marvel movie, I exploded in my pants. Like,
Yeah.
both front and back.
I will say this. As soon as I saw him walk on the screen, I was just like, oh, he's going to be bad, isn't he? Oh. But at the same time, like every time every time he's on screen in any film that he's in, it just takes your breath away. I got introduced to him in Rogue One, and I was just like, why did I not know about this guy sooner? Like, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, it's because he was doing Australian stuff. Because he's Australian. Which I did not know. I did not know that.
Oh. Jake, it's your turn now, good sir.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right out of the gate here and say I would give it a solid 8.5. I'd give it a 9. 9.
Okay. Funny how the two Air Force decided to give it a high rating, and the rest of us are like, it was good.
Okay. Okay. Here's we talked about this before, and how you wanted.
Now I understand what he was doing in the chair earlier. Sorry. He was prepping for the Captain Marvel speech. Gotcha.
Okay. Here's the deal. Like we talked earlier in prep for this that you wanted Jenemy and I to kind of give you a feedback on how realistic the Air Force stuff in the movie was and how accurate. There wasn't shit in there about Air Force. I mean, there was like a few scenes where they're all like you get pictures of them about to get into an F-15. Other than that, that was it. There was no Air Force shit.
Yeah. Like
at all. Which like did not bug me at all. I'm actually okay with that. Like I don't need that in a movie. In fact, I kind of prefer it to the military aspect not to be overly done. Because I feel like some movies use it as a crutch. And it can be kind of annoying, especially when they try to overdo it with all the Rogers and copies, if you know what I mean. Where they try to do the lingo a little too much and just it becomes a distraction.
Roger that.
Yes. But no, like they didn't. There was nothing really to critique as far as like the military, the Air Force aspect goes. It didn't really do anything. I enjoyed the movie. Like you said earlier, they figured the formula out on what works. So for this one, they were able to experiment a little bit more. I liked that they didn't follow the plot formula, their plot outline that they do with almost every Marvel movie back in every Marvel origin story where, hero gets powers, hero ends by fighting somebody with the same powers. Thing. They didn't do that, and I appreciated that. But as far as everything else that I would go into, that really falls into spoiler territory, and I just don't want to do that.
Can we unleash the spoilers? Let us unleash the spoilers.
We're going to give everyone to the count of 5, and then we will start unleashing these 2 spoilers, everyone. So if you are still listening to us and you are a good person and have seen the movie, you can continue listening. If you haven't, get the fuck out, or it's your life. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mine go first.
Oh my god! Call it refugees! That was the greatest twist.
Loved it.
Yes! Because here's the thing. Like, it was like, okay, like, I'm willing to bet. Okay, and of course I'm blanking on his name. As soon as he walked on the screen, everyone was like, oh, he's the bad guy. Oh, plot twist, he's the bad guy. Cool. And then as soon as they were like, oh no, we were just trying to find our way home. Like, I'll put it this way. This is getting personal. Yeah, my father was a refugee. he was persecuted like crazy, and that's why he fled his home country and came to the United States. So for me, as soon as that happened, like all the feels, like I started tearing up. Like
shirt to do it. Jesus.
sorry. Sorry. My heart was just crawling out. No, but yeah, like I started getting teary-eyed in the theater. It was really inspirational to see that side show up on such a big platform. Because yeah, Marvel's a huge platform around the world now, and so to see that message was just
Okay, I have one question for you. How many times have you seen it so far?
I've seen it once.
Okay, watch it again. Like as soon as you can, go watch it again. And there's going to be little hints that will really like, makes more sense now. Like there are certain scenes where like he's hinting that there's when he's trying to get to the ship or get to Marvel's lab, that maybe there's something more here than just what, maybe it's not just a weapon that he's trying to get to, or maybe he's not just trying to get to this drive. Maybe there's something else. And then you watch it a second time and go, oh, he really wants to get to his family.
Yeah, that was really sweet, really inspirational watch. And I liked the fact that they kind of hinted at like the big surprise with, oh my God, the African-American actor who was in Captain Marvel's team.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Don't know his name.
Yeah, I don't know his name either. But as soon as he was on the team, I was like, I remember him from Guardians.
Yep.
Wait, weren't they the bag? Wait, where'd the what? And then like I didn't think about it. And then as soon as what was it, the Redeemer? No, the
Ronan the Accuser.
Ronan the Accuser. As soon as he came on, I just went, oh my God.
Yep.
So yeah, that for me, like I love that. And the cat. Fucking cat.
So
I will say this, that was a very like that movie almost turned into a movie about a cat. Because that cat just like stole the show.
So a lot of people actually did not like the direction they went with how Fury lost his eye.
I'm one of them.
Really?
Like, okay, so I understand and fully respect everything, considering he's a spy. But here's my human nature calling. When you're in Winter Soldier and you make it seem like a really big deal, you're hoping for a big deal. And it kind of, I don't know, it was just more of a, oh, ha, instead of a, we're going to get to see some real, like, trust issue shit. Oh my God, I can't fucking wait. And then a cat. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I will say this. I did.
But he loved that cat!
He loved that cat, and two,
cat.
If you ended up like breaking your leg or having this giant scar on you, you would want a badass story too. You wouldn't want to tell people it's like, oh, I woke up and I walked right into a glass door and that's why I have this giant scar on my face.
Okay,
so like that was pretty funny.
If you tell people that an alien cat like thing scratched your fucking face, I would sit there and go, holy shit, dude, you got scratched in the face by an alien? Like, that story is still cool. Like, not everybody, like, I got scratched in the eye by a cat. Ha ha, you loser. But I got scratched in the face by an alien, and I'm like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah, but when you work for S.H.I.E.L.D., and everybody's aware of aliens, and they're like, you got scratched by a cat.
Yep.
You could say alien cat, and everyone's like, yeah, we work with aliens all the time now. But a cat. So, like, so yeah, I could understand why he wanted to keep that a secret and still maintain his macho-ness. Because it did make him look pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and one of the problems I had with the movie
was definitely the ending when we found out why Fury decided to call it the Avengers Initiative. to answer that question that nobody was fucking asking. I thought that was a little kind of
tongue-in-cheek almost.
More of they were definitely just trying to pad the runtime. It felt like with a completely unnecessary scene.
I will say this: I would say this. The reason why I wouldn't call it my favorite Marvel movie ever was because there were points where it was like it almost seemed kind of forced. If that makes any sense. Like you'd sit like what was the scene where spoilers, like when they're going through her
we're in the
her memories
segment. You don't have to keep
Yes, that's true. I know, but in case anybody like pops in. But it's more of like, you know that scene where like they're going through her mememories and she's kind of like walking around and she's like supposed to be freaking out because it's like the same lady back and forth, and I'm going, give me something there. So yeah, like there were scenes like that where you were just like, I can tell they're on a stage saying lines kind of thing, as opposed to like acting and like immersing yourself in the character.
Yeah.
However, if I had to pick like a really sweet sentimental scene other than the obvious like, oh my god, refugees, the scene where it's the two women sitting and they're kind of like bonding over old times, and it kind of reminded me of like when I was sitting and like catching up with like an old Marine buddy who I hadn't seen in a long time, and it's almost like you take like a couple minutes and it's just like you were there like talking this morning or yesterday. And seeing that dynamic on the screen was really nice because it was like, yay, we do that too.
Yeah, that was cute.
Aw, that was more than cute. That was adorable.
One little thing that I didn't get to say the last time I did the spoiler review of Captain Marvel was just, to me, it was an inconsistency with the timelines, and the storyboard was the Tesseract. The Tesseract, the way that the Shield is in possession of the Tesseract is that Howard Stark found it underwater while searching for Steve. Like that was they found that first, but in at the end of First Avenger, and then fucking comes up and he's like, you should have left it in the water, but now all of a sudden somehow it gets put into the possession of the aliens, and I'm just like, whoa, wait, hold on.
Well, she worked for S.H.I.E.L.D., so it actually there's no timeline inconsistency.
That is true.
Marvel was working for S.H.I.E.L.D. under the guise of a human. So so my thought is she was using the Tesseract as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. on doing experiments with fucking travel, making an engine out of the Space Stone. It makes sense. So it's not really an inconsistency. And I mean, they were S.H.I.E.L.D. agents accessing Pegasus. Pegasus was an arm of S.H.I.E.L.D. Is what I got from it.
Well,
that answered that plot hole, didn't it?
Yep. At any
that
rate.
Is, if anything, I think we just witnessed his mind-blown face, because he just went, "Ever?"
No, this is my face of, I am so glad you finally got to talk about Captain Marvel. Because I'm like, I would love to chime in, but everything I want to say has already been said in that episode. So I'm just
That is true. That was a really great episode.
Eat myself. But no, yeah, Captain Marvel did well, aside from certain things that bugged the crap out of me, like the CGI on her face when she's in space.
Yeah,
I really feel like they saved all the CGI for Nick Fury. Well,
they kind of needed to, because I mean, he's old now.
No,
not that he's old. He's older. He's older.
He's old.
I would still watch anime with him. No shame.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, that's it for us this episode. So, please tune in next week, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be some interesting stuff going along, because I, Tom Cruise, am celebrating my birthday on the 31st in Las Vegas. shooting a bunch of guns dressed as Deadpool, so I'll be sure to recap on that just for shits and fucking giggles. And we are going to be talking about... Let's bring up the series of movies that we'll be talking about, because there is so much going on.
Ant-Man and the Wasp,
Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man, Thor 3, and Black Panther. So that's going to be fucking amazing. We might even throw Ant-Man and the Wasp in there as well, maybe. Considering
I think it fits.
Civil War, due to the timeline though, is the only bit, because Ant-Man and the Wasp comes after Civil War, but we'll see what happens.
What was it? Single Dad Cosplay and I will both be doing WonderCon this weekend as well, so we may have a couple words about that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That is dope. So that's all going to be fucking fantastic. I'm just rambling on. I don't know how to fucking...
I will say this, as a final note, I'm really glad. Thank you very much, Tom Cruise, for bringing us together, because I'll put it this way. I've never been looking so forward to hump day, knowing full well that I'm single and there's no humping ever involved in this. So thank you so much for this. It's been really nice, and I've gotten to meet some really great people.
Well, I will continue to grow this in ways that I can. Listeners, if you're listening, we have a Facebook group page designed mostly for the military, and the reason why I say that is because I want the military to be able to just act like their military selves, and I'm a firm believer still to this day, even though I'm out, that if we are around civilians, we need to act accordingly, and we need to watch our P's and Q's. We need to stop swearing as much, and if we have a joke that we know would quiet a room, don't fucking say it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. As Jake put it when we were hanging out on Sunday at Emerald City Comic Con, he straight up told his wife, he's like, yeah, no, this podcast, you put the kids to sleep first before you fucking listen to that podcast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway. My mom wanted to listen to it, and I went, no.
Yeah.
Nope.
I would let my parents listen to it, but they wouldn't understand the nerd aspect of it, or my mom wouldn't understand the military aspect. So I'm just like, if you want to listen to it, I post about it, but whatever, it's up to you. Anyway, so to all our listeners, spread the word about us. We got some cool stuff in the works and stuff that we're planning, and we need all of the help that we can get to fund everything that we want to do. So thanks for tuning in. Get ready for the next episode, and that's all for us.
All right.
This is Tom Cruise Cosplay with Mayan Goddess.
Yay!
J4 Props.
Toodles.
Fucking Cosplay Jenemy is in Disneyland. Fucking piece of shit. And then Single Dad
Disneyland or Disney World?
One of the two.
I think she's at Disney World.
She's on the happiest place on earth, and I'm not
yes,
right
she
now.
Is.
Okay, so and Single Dad is taking care of his family, so they had the night off tonight. So we love them and we miss them. This is us signing off.
Bye.